When we talked about Meru County and what time they arrived at the polling station, we had no one that arrived at the polling station before 4 a.m. The people in Kajiado County chose to wake up very early. 11% of them were at the polling center by 4 a.m. And the big majority were there between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. That's 46%. And a good number, 27% were at the polling station before 10 a.m. and just 8% showed up after noon. So Kajiado County can tend to be quite hot, so you probably want to get everything done within the morning hours. So let's take a look at some of the other questions that we asked the residents there. Obviously, after arriving there, how long did it take for them to vote? A good number, 26% took less than an hour to vote. And here's a tie. 27% of the voters who were polled in Kajiado County took between 3 to 4 hours to vote. And just 18% took between 1 to 2 hours. So it's looking pretty good for the voters in Kajiado County. If you look at the 26% who took less than an hour and the 27% who took between 3 to 4 hours. How many first-time voters in Kajiado County? 28% versus the 72% whom are voting maybe for the second, third, or fourth time. Now, of course, the other questions we're asking them are about the issues. How likely do you think the general election will be free from fraud and vote tampering? Optimistic lot, 83% say it's highly likely that this election will be free from fraud and vote tampering. Man, I'm trying to say that word, from fraud and vote tampering. Anyway, it's a bit of a tongue twister there, isn't it? 14% said it's unlikely, and just a mere 2% refused to answer. So, just gauging the perceptions of the voters across the various counties on their feeling on this election. So if we can take a look at how likely they think there will be peace in Kenya during this period, 89% think this will be a peaceful time in the country. That's important, especially as the results are starting to trickle in. So I think here we're highly positive as to the likelihood of peace during this process. So that is regarding peace and that vote. But it would also be good to see just what drove them to the ballot and why they voted for who they voted for. What were some of the issues that were likely sending the voters there. Here's another one. How likely do you think, I think we've done that one. What's the most serious problem? This is what we're talking about. The issues that the elected president should address immediately after the election. Unemployment, top on the minds of the voters in Kajiado County. The cost of living, 19%. And 12% think that the problem that the president should address immediately is corruption. What do you think most people in this area, that's Kajiado County, considered most when deciding who to vote for as president? Many of them said they thought it was the development agenda at 31%. I don't know if we've got more statistics for you from this exit poll from Kajiado County, particularly with their choice of governor. So what was the key factor? And we asked just one thing, not two, not three, but just one. Most of them said the development agenda, that's 30%. 16% considered the manifesto. And remember, this campaign period, we saw quite a bit of manifestos launched by MPs, senators, governors, even MCAs. What's the most serious problem that the elected governor should address immediately? If you live in Kajiado County, then you know the situation with the roads. That is no surprise that 20% thought that the roads should be the number one issue that should be addressed there, with 13% saying it's unemployment and 12% saying water. This is interesting because water is also a big problem in Kajiado County. Yeah? Okay. So do we have any more? So this is what we've got. But this would be interesting to hear. What the panel with Linda thinks about some of these exit polls and